Life has a way of presenting us with situations that, on the surface, seem completely random or even absurd. You may find yourself in moments where you're asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Or, "What on earth does this have to do with my life?" But here's the truth. Nothing comes into your experience without meaning. Every single event, no matter how bizarre, is like a mirror being held up to you, showing you something about yourself. That mirror might reflect an insecurity you didn't know you had, a strength you didn't realize you possessed, or a belief you've been quietly carrying for years. The event may not be comfortable, but it's always purposeful. Think about it. Life doesn't send you situations to punish you. It sends you situations to grow you. That's why sometimes the most unusual encounters become the most revealing moments of your life. When something unexpected happens, like someone showing up where they don't belong, disrupting your normal rhythm, your mind immediately jumps to judgment or confusion. But if you stop and strip away the initial reaction, you'll notice the situation itself is neutral. It's not inherently good or bad. The meaning you attach to it is what creates your emotional response. This is where the mirror concept comes into play. That person, that event, that interruption, it's showing you the condition of your own internal world. Are you quick to anger? Do you instantly go into fear? Do you start imagining the worst? Or perhaps you notice that you feel an unusual calm and compassion in the middle of the chaos. Either way, it's feedback. It's a reflection of where you currently are in your emotional and mental growth. We often believe that self-discovery comes only through planned reflection or quiet meditation, but the reality is, the universe has a far more creative way of getting our attention. It uses real, life events as the canvas to reveal our hidden patterns. That strange knock at the door, that sudden conversation with a stranger, that moment when someone crosses the invisible lines you've drawn around your comfort zone. These are all catalysts. The runaway girl hiding in your shower isn't just a shocking incident, she's a living metaphor for something trying to get your attention. She might represent a part of you that feels lost, desperate, or in need of shelter. She could be mirroring a hidden fear about safety, trust, or control. Or perhaps she's there to awaken compassion you've been keeping locked away. You won't know until you stop reacting and start reflecting. Most people rush through these moments without ever looking in the mirror they've been handed. They deal with the situation externally. They solve it. They remove the problem. They close the door. They try to get back to normal. But in doing that, they miss the opportunity to see what the situation was really there to reveal. The mirror only works if you're willing to look. And looking means asking questions that go beyond the surface. What am I feeling right now? And why? What does my reaction tell me about the beliefs I've been living by? Where else in my life does this same emotion appear? These questions crack open the door to self-awareness. And once you have self-awareness, you can make real change. It's important to understand that the mirror doesn't flatter or condemn. It simply reflects. If you're experiencing frustration, the mirror is showing you where you're resisting life. If you're experiencing fear, it's showing you where you've given away your power to uncertainty. If you're experiencing compassion, it's showing you where your heart is open and ready to connect. The mirror is neutral. It has no agenda other than to show you yourself as you are in that exact moment. And here's the catch. The same event can be a completely different mirror for two different people. One person might see danger, while another sees opportunity. That's why the meaning is always personal. It's not about the event itself, it's about the reflection it stirs up inside of you. Even the timing of these events carries meaning. They often arrive when you least expect them, catching you off guard. That's intentional, because when you're off balance, your true patterns come to the surface. You can't hide behind rehearsed responses or carefully constructed masks. You react from your default state. That's when the mirror is at its clearest. It's raw, it's unfiltered, and it's deeply revealing. Most people see this as an inconvenience, but if you're willing to treat it as a gift, it becomes one of the fastest ways to understand yourself and grow. The growth doesn't come from controlling what shows up in the mirror. It comes from learning to respond differently to what you see. Looking in that mirror can be uncomfortable. You may not like the reflection. You may wish it wasn't showing you the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding. But discomfort is the sign that the mirror is doing its job. Growth rarely happens in comfort zones. It happens in moments that stretch you, challenge you, and force you to confront aspects of yourself you'd rather not see. The very event that seems inconvenient, even unwelcome, is often the one that's perfectly designed to help you evolve. That's why the question is never, why did this happen to me? But rather, what is this revealing about me? And what am I going to do with that information? Negative emotions are a natural part of being human, yet so many people mistake them for a permanent state of being. They feel sadness and start to believe they are a sad person. They experience fear and label themselves as anxious. They feel anger and think of themselves as short-tempered. But emotions are not life sentences. They are momentary signals, temporary visitors passing through your mind and body to deliver a message. Just like a red light on a car dashboard doesn't mean the car is broken forever. A negative feeling doesn't mean you are broken or doomed to feel that way for the rest of your life. It's simply a sign that something within you needs attention, adjustment, or understanding. The problem arises when people start identifying with their emotions instead of observing them. Think about the weather. One day it's sunny, the next it's stormy, and sometimes it's gray for a while. But no matter what's happening in the sky, the sun is still there behind the clouds. Your emotional state works the same way. The sun, your inner strength, your calm, your clarity, is always there, even when negative feelings are covering it up. But if you believe the clouds are permanent, you'll stop looking for the light. That's when temporary emotions turn into long-term suffering. Recognizing that feelings are signals changes everything, because instead of drowning in them, you start listening to what they're trying to tell you. Fear might be pointing out an area where you feel uncertain and need preparation. Anger might be highlighting a boundary that's been crossed. Sadness might be inviting you to release something you've been holding onto for too long. Each feeling carries information. The trouble is, most people are trained to either suppress or overindulge in their emotions. They either push them down, pretending everything is fine, or they let them spiral out of control, feeding them with repetitive thoughts until they become overwhelming. Both extremes rob you of the opportunity to actually hear the message behind the emotion. Suppression causes emotions to resurface later, often in more intense and destructive ways. Overindulgence turns them into self-fulfilling cycles that keep you trapped in the same state. The middle ground is where transformation happens. When you acknowledge the feeling, understand its message, and then decide how to respond rather than react. Imagine you're sitting quietly, and suddenly, you feel a wave of anxiety wash over you. Most people immediately resist it, thinking, "Oh, "No, not this again," and then begin feeding it with fearful thoughts. But what if, instead, you simply noticed it? You could say to yourself, "I'm feeling anxious right now. I wonder what this is pointing to?" That simple shift from judgment to curiosity changes your relationship with the emotion. Instead of fighting it, you're observing it. And when you observe it, you start to notice patterns. Maybe you realize this anxiety always shows up before a big change, or when you're about to try something new. Suddenly, the feeling makes sense. It's not there to harm you, it's there to prepare you, to heighten your awareness, so you can navigate the unknown more effectively. The same goes for anger. If you treat anger as who you are, you'll say things like, "I'm just an angry person," or "That's my nature." But if you see anger as a signal, you'll start to notice the deeper truth it's pointing to. Maybe it's alerting you to a lack of respect in a relationship, or a value you hold that's being violated. Once you see it this way, you can channel the energy of that anger into constructive action instead of destructive reaction. This is the power of detaching your identity from your emotions. You stop being at their mercy and start using them as tools. One of the most liberating realizations is that you can feel a negative emotion without becoming consumed by it. You can experience sadness without falling into hopelessness. You can feel fear without becoming paralyzed. You can sense frustration without lashing out. This doesn't happen by accident. It comes from practice. You practice sitting with the discomfort, breathing through it, letting it be there without trying to shove it away or magnify it. Over time, you start to see that no matter how strong the emotion feels in the moment, it eventually passes. And the more you witness this truth, the less control those emotions have over you. What most people overlook is that negative emotions can actually deepen your capacity for positive ones. Just as contrast makes a painting more vivid, moments of struggle make joy more profound. If you never experienced sadness, you wouldn't truly appreciate happiness. If you never felt fear, you wouldn't know the exhilaration of courage. These emotions work together, shaping your inner landscape and helping you grow into a more resilient, empathetic, and aware human being. The key is to let each emotion play its role without giving it more power than it deserves. It's there to guide you, not to define you. The more you live with this awareness, the more you realize that emotions are like waves in the ocean. Some are small ripples, others are towering surges, but none of them are the ocean itself. You are the ocean. You have depth, stillness, and strength that remain untouched no matter what waves crash on the surface. And once you see negative feelings in this way, you stop fearing them. You stop running from them. You learn to ride them, to use their momentum to carry you toward greater self, understanding, and a richer, fuller experience of life. In moments when life takes a sudden turn, when something unexpected happens, and your emotions flare up, the instinct is almost always to react immediately. This reaction might come in the form of words spoken too soon, decisions made too quickly, or assumptions drawn without a full understanding of the situation. But the most powerful thing you can do in such moments is to pause. That pause, however small, creates a space between what has happened and what you choose to do about it. It's in that space where clarity lives. Without it, you're at the mercy of whatever emotion is dominating you at that moment. Fear, anger, confusion, or even excitement. With it, you regain your ability to choose your next step from a place of intention rather than impulse. The pause is not about doing nothing. It's about allowing your mind to slow down enough to see the whole picture instead of just the fragment that your initial reaction wants to focus on. When something shocking or confusing happens, your mind will instantly interpret it through the lens of your past experiences, beliefs, and fears. That means your first thought is rarely the clearest or most accurate one. It's simply the fastest. This is why the pause matters so much. It gives you time to notice, is this interpretation coming from reality or from my conditioning? In that stillness, you start to recognize the difference between what is actually happening and what your mind is projecting onto it. Perspective is what follows naturally after the pause. It's like stepping back from a painting. When you're too close, all you see are individual brushstrokes and colors. Some strokes might look messy or out of place, but when you step back, you can see how they all fit into the bigger picture. In life, perspective works the same way. Without stepping back, you might think a challenging moment is the whole story, when in reality, it's just one small part of a much larger process that's unfolding for your growth. That runaway girl in your shower might seem like nothing but chaos at first glance, but when you pause and shift your perspective, you might see it as a moment filled with hidden meaning, an opportunity to exercise compassion, or a lesson in staying calm under pressure. Pausing and gaining perspective also prevents you from making decisions you'll later regret. Most people underestimate how much damage can be done in a few seconds of unchecked reaction. Words spoken in anger can't be taken back. Rash choices made in fear often lead to more problems than they solve. By stopping yourself, even for a deep breath, you interrupt the chain of reaction that could pull you further away from the outcome you truly want. That moment of stillness gives your rational mind a chance to catch up with your emotional mind, and when the two work together, the choices you make are far more aligned with your best self. It's also in the pause that you can observe your emotions instead of being swallowed by them. When you don't rush into action, you have the chance to notice what you're feeling and why. You might realize that the fear you feel isn't really about what just happened, but about an old wound it triggered. You might discover that the irritation you feel is more about your current stress level than the situation in front of you. These insights only come when you create the mental space to see them. Without that pause, you're trapped in automatic mode, recycling the same patterns over and over again. The beautiful thing about perspective is that it transforms not only how you see a situation, but also how you see yourself within it. It moves you from being the victim of events to the observer and creator of your own experience. You begin to understand that while you can't control everything that happens around you, you can absolutely control how you interpret and respond to it. And in doing so, you shift the balance of power back into your own hands. That single decision, to pause and gain perspective, can turn a moment of chaos into a moment of personal mastery. There's also a deeper layer to perspective that goes beyond the immediate situation. Sometimes the pause reveals not only how this event fits into your life, but also how it might be affecting others involved. When emotions run high, it's easy to see only your side of the story, to assume your feelings and needs are the only ones that matter in the moment. But stepping back allows you to see from another angle. You might recognize that someone else's actions, while upsetting to you, were driven by their own fears or struggles. This doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it does help you approach the situation with greater understanding and less judgment. That shift alone can open the door to better communication and resolution. In practice, creating this pause and perspective is like building a muscle. It gets stronger the more you use it. At first, it may feel unnatural because you've been conditioned to react quickly. But with repetition, it becomes second nature to stop, breathe, and ask yourself, what's really going on here? What's the bigger picture? Over time, you'll find that you no longer feel as swept away by sudden events. You'll notice, more often, that you have the ability to slow time down, at least internally, and choose your response with care. That's the quiet power that turns unexpected moments into opportunities for wisdom, rather than sources of regret. Life is full of moments you didn't see coming, events you never planned for, and situations you would have preferred to avoid. They arrive without warning, often at the most inconvenient times, disrupting whatever sense of stability you thought you had. When something uninvited shows up in your life, whether it's a person, a problem, or a sudden change, your first instinct might be to push it away, to close the door and pretend it never happened. But what if the uninvited isn't here to ruin your life? What if it's here to redirect it? Sometimes, what feels like an interruption is actually an invitation, an opening to step into a new version of yourself that you wouldn't have discovered otherwise. The uncomfortable truth is that growth rarely comes when everything is neat and predictable. It comes when you're forced to adjust, to think differently, and to act in ways you never have before. An unexpected situation can be the very thing that shatters your old patterns and forces you to see possibilities you were blind to. In that sense, the uninvited is not a mistake. It's a catalyst. That runaway girl in your shower might not just be a strange and alarming situation. She could represent a moment that challenges your assumptions, tests your patience, or awakens a part of you that's been dormant. It's in these unplanned moments that your resilience is tested and your character is shaped. Turning the uninvited into a turning point starts with a choice. The choice to look for meaning instead of only focusing on inconvenience. When something happens that you don't want, it's easy to get caught up in frustration or fear. You replay the situation in your mind, wishing it had gone differently, or you focus on how unfair it feels. But if you pause and ask, how could this help me grow? The situation shifts. That single question moves you out of resistance and into curiosity. And curiosity is the doorway to transformation because it allows you to see opportunities hiding inside the challenge. Often, the greatest personal breakthroughs come disguised as problems. You may not recognize them at first because they don't feel like blessings. They feel like burdens. But with time and reflection, you see that they were exactly what you needed. Maybe an unexpected event forced you to confront a fear you've been avoiding. Maybe it revealed a strength you didn't know you had. Maybe it opened a path that you never would have considered if your old routine had stayed intact. The very disruption you wanted to get rid of might end up being the thing that leads you to a deeper sense of purpose or a higher level of self-awareness. This shift in perspective also changes how you handle challenges in the future. Once you've experienced turning an uninvited event into a turning point, you stop seeing life as something that happens to you and start seeing it as something that's happening for you. That doesn't mean you enjoy every challenge or pretend it's easy, but it does mean you trust that there's value in every experience. Even the messy ones. You begin to meet the unexpected with a different energy, not panic or avoidance, but openness. You start asking better questions. What is this here to teach me? How can I grow from this? What part of me is this situation asking to step forward? When you embrace this mindset, you begin to realize that the uninvited often shows up at the exact moment you're ready for your next level, even if you don't feel ready. Life has a way of bringing the right challenges at the right time, not because it's cruel, but because it's preparing you for something bigger. Those moments push you to develop skills, patience, courage, and understanding that will be essential for the next chapter of your life. Without the push, you might stay stuck in familiar, but limiting patterns, never realizing just how much more you're capable of. It's also worth noticing that turning the uninvited into a turning point often has a ripple effect beyond yourself. The way you handle an unexpected situation can inspire or impact others in ways you can't always see immediately. Your calm response in chaos might reassure someone else who is afraid. Your willingness to find meaning in a challenge might encourage another person to do the same in their own life. Transformation is never entirely personal. It always has the potential to influence the people around you, creating a chain reaction of growth. Every uninvited moment is like a seed. At first, it might look small, insignificant, or even unwanted. But if you choose to nurture it, to give it your attention, to learn from it, to grow through it, it can grow into something far larger and more meaningful than you imagined. This is why these situations that throw you off balance are often the most important ones you'll ever experience. They break the illusion that you're in total control, they challenge you to adapt, and they open the door to a version of yourself that could only emerge under pressure. And while the uninvited may arrive without warning, the decision to turn it into a turning point will always be yours to make.